I'm Stephanie Rodriguez, and I'm doing a video today about shoulder alignment. The first thing I'd like to begin with is just pointing out that shoulder alignment and any kind of joint alignment and joint support doesn't necessarily come from just the area itself. It actually comes from drawing energy from the ground, from your actual foundation, your support, through muscle connection, so creating a kinetic chain, a closed muscle chain that engages muscles all the way to the area that you're trying to work, so that you seal in energy. So in yoga we talk about prana, we talk about life force energy, and we talk about bandhas. Bandhas are locks. So it's kind of like a seal or a lock, an energetic seal or lock that seals in energy so that that area can be fed fresh oxygen, fresh blood flow, and pull all the sort of waste material after the muscle's been engaged away from that area once it's finished. So the main thing you really want to look at and think about when you're working shoulder alignment is drawing energy from the ground through the muscles, creating a kinetic chain or a bandha or a seal, and pulling the energy through the muscles and then engaging the muscles to hold that energy in place so that that area has enough energy to work with. So in shoulder joint, we talk about engaging the core, pulling the ribs in, creating a nice curve in the low back of the lowest part of the spine, pulling the ribs in, finding lots of length and space. So this is a really important concept in Anusara yoga, and I'll write details about this in my blog, but essentially you always want to create spaciousness in the body. You don't ever want to feel like the joints are crammed, because if they're crammed, they can't move easily, and they're not lubricated properly either by all the nutrients that the blood could bring if the blood could flow to the area properly. So in shoulder joint alignment, we talk about lengthening the spine, pulling the energy in from the ground, creating a kinetic chain, engaging muscles all the way up the body, and pulling the core in. Once you have a stable foundation, then the shoulders are more free to move and have more support so that they can go deeper into their movements and have more strength to move into their movements. So in shoulder alignment, essentially this is what we're going to be looking at. Length, pull the ribs in, engage the core, pull all the energy from the periphery to the core, and then you can work on, once you have all your length and your engagement, push your shoulders away, forwards, in front of you, push your hands away from you, and all you're going to do, really one arm at a time, because it's nice to work with asymmetric movements until you figure out how to complete the movement, is to push the hands away, shoulders come forwards, head rests on top of diaphragm, which rests on top of the pelvic floor. Hopefully that all works out in this video. I can't see myself. Pushing your hands forwards, lifting the shoulders up and pulling them back to the back plane of the body, and then allowing the shoulders to come away from the ears. Notice I'm not going to jam in either of these two places. I'm not going to jam up, back to the back plane of the body. You don't want your shoulders to go past the back plane of the body. You just want them to set nicely in line with the back plane of the body so that the muscles are engaged to support. And the same thing when you lower your shoulders, there should be no jamming of the shoulders in any intense way away from the ears, because then you're going to cut off that blood flow and that supply, which comes from the lengthening of the torso and the lengthening of the arm bones away from the hip points and away from the ground. So again, pushing the hands forwards, allowing the shoulders to come forward, one arm at a time. It'll look like this: lengthening, pulling the shoulder up and back to the back plane, and then allowing that shoulder joint, that upper arm bone, to settle down, not down like jammed. You still want to feel blood flow in the whole shoulder joint. Like this, one at a time. Okay, here's what it looks like from behind. Length, pull the core in, support the whole foundation, create that kinetic chain, that bandha, to seal in the prana, and then lift the shoulders up, slide them back, one at a time, slide them back and down slightly. Boom, boom. Now my shoulder is super supported and my arms are free to move with the stability that they need in order to move freely, but not without integrity in the joint. Okay, so one of the things, sometimes I find students find it very difficult to find this movement of rolling the shoulder back. I like to use a rolled up yoga mat If your torso is a little bit longer, you could always use 2, or you could use a block to support your head if your head hangs off the edge. So, setting up your foundation, super important. And I love this because in any person who has any kind of shoulder injury, whether it's working out at the gym, I like to work out as well, you always want to start any kind of exercise by turning your awareness inwards. They talk a lot about this in Anusara yoga. I love it. It's a great concept because without that internal awareness, you're more likely to injure yourself, and you're less likely to be aware of what's going on in your body if you are doing something that's not feeling great for your joints. So, first thing, tilt your pelvis. So you stick your butt out a little bit. Notice I'm not tucking my tailbone. I'm not lifting up. I'm actually going the other way. So sticking your butt out a little bit. And then again, length through the sides of the torso. So I get the ribs to be as far away from my hips as possible. And then without having the ribs flaring out, because that would break my seal, my energetic seal, I'm just going to gently engage, almost like I'm doing a little mini sit-up here. Pull the belly in flat, let the ribs come in. I don't actually have to lift up to create that isometric movement where I'm just pulling the ribs in and engaging, shortening the space between my heart and my navel. Whoosh, just like that. Keep that energetic seal in once you've gotten all your length. And then again, put your hands in front of you so you can just lift your hands up towards the ceiling and then push your hands away. Notice how my shoulders lift away from the ground. And then one at a time, pull the shoulder towards my ear. So that's up, back to the back plane of the body. You'll feel it because it rolls to the outside of the mat, to the side of the mat. Let it set back in space and then engage the muscles so that you can hold the shoulder joint in place while you do any other kind of movement. Same thing on the other side. Roll the shoulder up, let it set back and down. This is easier to do with the rolled up mat between your shoulder blades, so you can actually feel the shoulder blades hug the mat, squeezing the roll. Boom. Length, pull the ribs in, engage the core, let the shoulders, the upper arm bones set back in space, down towards the ground in this case, and then squeeze the shoulder blades together so that they pinch the mat just a little bit. This is how you would do chaturanga and other kinds of arm balances. I'll get to that, hopefully in this video. Another thing you might want to consider is bringing the arms to the overhead plane. A lot of people get jamming and pinching in their deltoid muscles and in other places. It's nice here to consider pushing, lengthening again. That's always the first step. Length, seal the energy in, pull the ribs in, right? Create that kinetic chain so that all the muscles are engaged and working. Even my feet are aware of their foundation on the ground. And then from there, you want to turn your palms to face each other. Some people think, palms facing forwards, whatever, which is fine once you've figured out what external rotation feels like in the upper arm bone. So you can even take your hand, just like I'm doing here, palm facing away from the midline of the body. Turn your shoulder out in space, okay? So the main thing you want to do is lengthen, pull the shoulder up and back and down, and then turn the points of the elbows towards each other, essentially. Palms facing each other, and there, that should give you actually a lot more space for the shoulder joint to bring the arms overhead, to the overhead plane. Same thing, palms facing each other, length, pull the ribs in, engage the core, and here, very important, you can even turn your palms to face the ground behind you if you need to be able to find that external rotation, widening of the collarbones. And then again, very important, letting the shoulder blades hug down and back. Pull the arms to the overhead plane, and lift up. And that should give you already a good idea of what we're working on here. Another thing that you might want to consider looking into is when you're doing chaturanga. So a lot of people injure themselves. I see a lot of chaturangas where people lower down. Chaturanga is the push-up where you lower down in your vinyasa sequence. And I see a lot of people do this, and this is terrible. Please don't imitate it if you can avoid it. But I see a lot of people do this. They push off their toes and they lower down, and then I see them dump their shoulders down lower and faster than the rest of the body. And essentially, What happens when you're doing that is you're straining the upper deltoids, you're straining the anterior deltoids, so the upper muscles here of the shoulder, and the rest of the shoulder joint, the rest of the rotator cuff is not working or activated properly. The upper back muscles are not working properly, so the shoulder joint just gets completely jammed up and doesn't actually have the strength to support the whole movement of lowering down. Over time, you'll get injured. So the main thing is you want to keep the chest open, engaging the muscles on the upper back of the body. So when you lower down, and you always start with your knees first, until you build the strength to do a proper chaturanga, figure out the alignment with your knees down with less weight bearing so that you can exercise the muscles properly first to wire properly in your brain. And then once you have the movement down, start adding more weight. So it should look like this essentially. Instead of dumping forwards and going like this, you want your elbows to move away from the body. You want to push forwards, opening, lift your head, lift your chest, and then from there, opening the front of the chest to lower down. Okay, again, that looks like this. You're in your high plank position, you're pushing forwards, your head and your throat are lifted, again, soft palate in line with diaphragm, in line with pelvic floor, pushing forwards, lifting the throat, opening the chest, so same thing, I was pushing the ground away. Now I'm going to roll the shoulders to the back plane of the body, same movement we were doing before, lower down, opening the chest, and that feels great for the shoulder joint. You can do it one shoulder at a time if you want, boom, boom, figuring out. You can also practice lying down on the ground, so just letting the shoulders come down, and then opening up the chest one at a time. Lift the shoulder up towards the ear, roll it back to the back plane of the body, same thing on the other side, and then you can practice lifting yourself up into a cobra pose, for example, but with your chest super open. All right, I hope that gives you a good idea of how to work the shoulder girdle, the shoulder alignment strategies that will really help your body thrive and just feel really good in your yoga practice. Hopefully also you'll have some awareness if you're sitting at a desk all day, or if you're driving a car, or whatever you're doing, that your shoulder alignment, your head and neck alignment, your upper body alignment all come from your solid foundation. So think of drawing your energy inwards towards the core, sealing the energy in, finding length, opening the chest, stacking your domes, soft palate, diaphragm, pelvic floor, opening the chest, and always keeping your elbows close to your waist side. Anytime they're slightly forwards and your bones are not stacked, your muscles have to work twice as hard just to keep you in that repetitive motion that you're doing. Okay, so if this was helpful, please like it. And I will have a blog or someplace where I'll be posting all of these videos. Please feel free to comment or add any information that you think might be of value to the yoga community or just to the community at large. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.